Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Israel Connection podcast. I'm Esti Zenati, and my guest today is Yuval David. Yuval David is an Israeli-American award-winning actor, director, filmmaker, and journalist. You may know him from shows such as Madam Secretary and What Would You Do? He is a proud Jewish and LGBT activist advocating for Israel, the Jewish people, LGBT rights, and more. So hi, Yuval. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. It's been a go day. I just got back home to Washington, D.C. after a massive travel day with delays. I was in Austin, Texas, having 3 speaking engagements there. And after a month of speaking engagements and news appearances, but the speaking engagements were in across Utah and Colorado and New York and California, and I don't even know what time
all
zone
over
I'm
the
in.
place.
But you know what? We're battling for our Jewish people right now, and
Yes.
That's what I do, from speaking engagements to empower Jews and allies, to give them action items and make them better advocates and activists, or help them to be better advocates and activists for the Jewish people, whether they're Jewish or allies. And I also do that on the news. I mean, I'm
Yes.
a news commentator on air multiple times a week and writing my articles. And this is a time for all of us to be more Jewish. And that's my goal.
Yes, it's an important.
And I'm drinking a little bit of wine because I've been away from home for so long, and I have a nice wine collection.
You deserve it. You earned it.
L'chaim.
I have water, so here.
All right, l'chaim to your water.
So, how did you even become?
Wait. You didn't sip to the l'chaim. You can't say
okay.
l'chaim and not take a sip. And now here's a message to all of the people who say, oh, you can't do a l'chaim to water. You absolutely can and should, because without water, we have no life.
Exactly.
So every time you drink water, do a l'chaim for it as well. Maybe not every time, but whenever you feel like it, do a l'chaim.
Water is my beverage of choice, I guess. It's I'm not a big alcohol person, but
Neither am I, but I really had quite a day. And
you earned it,
thought,
definitely.
and as soon as I'm done with this call, I'm actually making a steak dinner. So I'm getting in the mood with, my good, dark, deep red wine.
Well, enjoy that.
I am.
All right.
And I'm enjoying chatting with you.
Well, I'm enjoying chatting with you too, and I'm really glad that we got to do it despite your very, very busy schedule. So thank you.
Thank you. You're an example of a proud Jew who is speaking out, who is doing something for our people, who recognizes what your skill set is and what you're good at doing, and you're doing something about it. This is no longer and can no longer be the era of the weak, silent, apologetic Jew. We need to be unapologetic Jews, proud Jews, outspoken Jews, and action-taking Jews. And that's who you are, and that's why I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, and I'm also Israeli, so it's an extra,
Yeah, but you get it. But you've lived in the States for a while, no?
I've lived in the States for almost 14 years, but my entire family's in Israel. I lived most of my life in Israel. I served in the IDF. I did, all the stuff. So, I'm an Israeli through and through.
Yep. And, so you understand the concept of ma lasot lasot, what to do, you do.
Yeah.
We cannot wait for somebody else to do something for us.
Right.
We need to do it. And tomorrow I have meetings on Capitol Hill with Republican and Democrats, Congress people, advocating for the Jewish people, advocating for Israel, and advocating to openly battle Islamist anti-Jewish racism, the anti-Semitism that's coming from Islamist and Islamist supporting groups.
Yeah.
And to embolden our own leaders to do a better job. And then in 4 days, I'm going to be in Israel doing the same thing, but for Knesset members to help us here at the Jews of America who are underserved by the state of Israel.
Yeah, it's there's a lot going on for sure. And there's a lot that our politicians here in the US and Israel and all around the world have to do. And a lot of them seem to, kind of leave it in the back a little bit when it comes to Jews, which is a shame. But this is another bridge we need to cross, another thing we need to go through.
And that's why I always wear, I don't know if you can see in this camera angle. There you go. I have to lift up a little bit. I mean, of course, to wear the medallion, we have to, because ultimately this war will not end until all of our hostages are back home. And hopefully as many will come back home alive as possible. But you know what? Frida Rothman, the Jewish jeweler, another person who looked at what is she good at. She's a brilliant jeweler, and she's been making, oh my God, can you see it?
Oh, yes, I can see it, yeah.
Am Yisrael Chai.
Oh, I love it.
And with the little Magen David, she's amazing, find her. And then another cool one is the rockets into roses, where they took Hamas and Hezbollah rockets and turned them into symbols of Jewish identity. What else am I wearing? I don't even know. I wear so many necklaces all the time. This one, actually, I love as well is, can I get closer? Megameria. It's an Ethiopian Israeli jewelry company. And they create beautiful designs.
That's amazing.
You know what?
Yeah, I have my the dog tag, and I have the Shema Israel, and I have my Star of David ring.
Amazing. But where did you get it? Who designed your Star of David ring? And don't say Amazon.
Well, Etsy.
Are you going to say Amazon?
No, I got it from Etsy, from Jewish designers on Etsy.
All right.
Yes.
So let this be a plug, and hopefully, you'll keep this part of our conversation when you post this, to plug these different jewelers who are helping us wear our identity, not just with pride, but with fabulousness. We need to be fabulous Jews who celebrate with jewelry, with fashion, with our personalities, with every element of who we are, to be demonstratively Jewish. So these pieces, actually, each one was sent to me, which is also awesome. So I should plug them just because they sent it to me. Like Frida Rothman, Rockets into Roses, Megameria sent items to me saying, Yuval, we appreciate what you do. Here's a gift from us. Thank you. And I'm like, oh my God, thank you for sending this to me. I'll absolutely wear it. I need to do these plugs all the time. They deserve it.
And hey, if anybody wants to send me anything, please.
Yes. So make sure you tag them in this, because they create beautiful stuff. And you know what? Beyond just giving them a promotional plug in this conversation, for me, it means supporting Jewish businesses, supporting Israeli businesses, and supporting Jews and Israeli creators. I'm around social media professionals all the time who usually are referred to as influencers. And I get it. They play a very important role in our society. Absolutely. I'm not downplaying it in any way. I think what we need to understand from that is not the focus on celebrity, because what is a celebrity? The focus on being an influential person. Somebody who's doing something and creating something for our people, for our initiatives, for our causes, and to represent our people, initiatives, and causes. So that's what this jewelry means to me. That's what your amazing podcast means to me. And that's what the people who are being better Jews and better allies to the Jewish people mean to me. We're all in this together.
Yes, we are. So let's get down to the questions. I have a few questions for you.
I might have questions for you, and I might have answers. Go for it. Yeah. But I also might have a few different answers.
All right, let's see. So how did you even start? How did you become an activist? How did it all start for you? Because you've been doing this for years, not just with Israel, with other topics as well. So how did it all start for you?
Because I was raised as a Jew. It's what Jewish education empowers us to do. And it's why I wish that more Jews, especially the Jews in the diaspora, the Jews outside of Israel, of all ages, need to consistently engage in Jewish education. so we can understand that to be a Jew is to try to better the world. Not just tikkun olam, repairing of the world, but tikkun hanefesh, repairing of the soul, and tikkun haguf, repairing of the body. Does that mean my world, your world, the actual physical world around us? Does it mean my soul, my nefesh, or does it mean the nefesh of Am Yisrael, the spirit of our people? And does it mean my guf, tikkun haguf, my body, or your body, or the body politic of our people? And it's yes, yes, and yes to all of those things. So I was raised to understand that I come from parents and grandparents who truly fought for their lives, who had horrendous experiences that they turned into resilient survival stories, to proudly being who they are and gifting me with the life that I have, which means that my life isn't my own. My life is also theirs. And my life is also of and for our family members and friends and community members who didn't survive. I must be the best Jew I can be, which is probably why I'm only SJH, which is standard Jewish height. I wish I was taller, but that pressure has made me standard Jewish height. I mean, I'm still a good, I like my height. It's a good height. But when I encounter people who are, 6 foot, I was like, I wish I was a 6 foot Jew. But you know what? I'm a 7 foot or maybe even 8 foot Jew in my soul. To be a bold Jew. I started being an activist. I don't even know. In junior high school, I started to be on panel discussions and intergenerational dialogues with Holocaust survivors. And people started to really like what I was saying and kept inviting me back as a speaker. And then I started to engage in Washington, D.C. area politics where I grew up. And I was part of student councils advising U.S. politicians about the needs and the challenges of students in the United States. And then the ball kept rolling. And then I started to do that in Israel. And then I started to say, well, I don't only want to be part of an intergenerational dialogue with Holocaust survivors. Can we bring in survivors of the Farhud, survivors and the relatives of genocidal attempts across the Arab world and the European world, and to really talk about that. And one of the things that I still do today, that I started a long time ago, and I'm not going to say how long because according to IMDb, I'm much younger than I am, is to say, well, we cannot only be defined by those who hate us and try to kill us.
Right.
And we cannot only define ourselves by being victims. We must define ourselves as being resilient, determined, heroic survivors and doers who do something about it and want to make sure that the next generations will have a better life and an easier life.
Yep.
The problem that we face now, oh my God, this is a long answer. Are you okay with this?
Okay, yes, go with it.
I had 3 sips of a really good wine, and that's what happens. And I'm wearing my proud Jewish jewelry. Okay, so here's the problem. There's this cyclical narrative in the Jewish people, which very much disappoints me, that it takes atrocities for Jews to wake up. It takes anti-Jewish racism, hatred of Jewish people, anti-Semitism, whatever word you want to choose. It takes these horrendous things to happen to us for the vast majority of the Jewish population to wake up. And you know what? I see what has gone on with our generations. Tough times, difficult times create strong people. Strong people create easier times.
Right.
Easy times create weak people, and weak people create tough times.
Yeah, people got too comfortable.
Totally, especially here in America.
In
The
America,
American
in Israel,
Jews
it's
are
a
like,
whole different story.
no, let me not interrupt you. I'll create a space for you, and I'll support you, and I'll donate, and I'll donate my money and build a wing of the university or the hospital in the name of this family or that person. The people who are against us said, F these people. They're building the infrastructure. Great. We're going to fill the institutions with people who are imparting the narratives that we want.
Right.
That's why we're losing this war. That's why we see what the Qatari Foundation has done when they said to these elite universities that they're going to donate billions of dollars. They said, well, if you're going to accept our billions of dollars of donations, you need to put these specific professors in these specific departments, further and expand the Middle East studies departments, and also provide scholarships, full scholarships to a specific number of students of our choice. Absolutely brilliant. And they've been doing this for decades. And we are saying, let's build the buildings, let's help everybody. And we forgot, you want to do the translation?
Yeah, so imenani limili, which is my favorite expression in Hebrew. It means if not me for myself, if I don't take care of myself, who will take care of me? No one will. Like I'm for myself, so we need to take care of our people. And I think that's been our issue for.
But do the whole thing.
Years.
Define the whole thing.
What was the rest of it?
Mm-hmm. So say it again.
If not me for myself, then who will?
And
when I am to myself, what's the rest?
Ma'ani.
What am I? So we need to be there for ourselves. We need to support ourselves.
But also to be there for others.
Yeah, to be there for others, but don't forget ourselves.
Totally.
Along with the whole thing. If not now, when? There you go.
You should be a translator at the UN. That was like brilliant. Because we get all these Israeli people who come, they're like, oh, I'm from Israel, I'm representing the land haaretz, and all of the Jews, and I talk like this, and now I need you, Esti, to be my translator. You're really good at it. You're a good translator.
Thank you.
L'chaim to that.
L'chaim with the water.
You have to sip it this time.
I did. So let's continue with our questions. So, the rise of anti-Semitism, of course, in the past year and a half, and the rise in anti-Israel sentiment from marginalized group, especially the LGBTQ world, and how has it impacted you personally? And I know you've been through some rough incidents, going through the parade and being attacked at the parade. So, what can you tell us about that?
Well, I don't say that anti-Semitism is rising. I say that it's already risen.
It's risen, right? But now
the people who are only combating anti-Jewish hatred now, you know what? You're too late. We needed you a long time ago.
Yes.
Because what we're seeing on the college campuses and what we're seeing in the civil rights, social justice, and human rights movements didn't only start on October 7th.
Right.
There's been a groundswell of this happening for years, for decades.
Yep.
And I've been waving the red flag about this, meeting with different organizational leaders in the United States, where, by the way, there are something like 10,604 Jewish organizations in America, which means that there's one Jewish organization for every 780 American Jews. And many of these organizations aren't collaborating enough. And so when I started to encounter within my own LGBTQIA+ community, which truly I consider a movement and not a community, when I started to see rabid anti-Semitism masked as anti-Israel and anti-Zionist belief, I went to the American Jewish organizations for help. And I didn't receive enough help. Sometimes I didn't receive any help. Sometimes I was ignored. And sometimes they said, no, look at what we did with BDS. We spoke about BDS so much and they grew. And I said, that's narcissism. You think you created BDS because you spoke about them? You think that you amplified BDS because you spoke about them? No, BDS, and which is the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement against Israel and against Zionism and truly against Jews, or JVP, Jewish Voices for Peace, which, by the way, is neither. It's neither Jewish nor is it for peace.
Yeah, it's like an extension of SJP, of Student Justice.
Yes, Students for Justice in Palestine. All of these well-funded organizations went for the long game. They are running a marathon, while Jews were quickly responsive for the little fires and putting out little fires instead of understanding what is the source of the fire. So I received responses like that years ago. And you know what? When we had the massive event at the Dyke March in Chicago, where Jews were kicked out of an LGBTQ march, which focuses primarily on women's issues and primarily on lesbian issues, and is expanded into so many other things anyway. Why wasn't there more Jewish support? When Jews were attacked during the Creating Change conference, which is run by the National LGBTQ Task Force, time and time again in the United States, where was the Jewish support? When I and my group were physically assaulted in the Washington, D.C. Capitol Pride Parade, where was the Jewish support? And when the same thing happened to me and my other Jewish group in New York City during the Pride Parade, where was the Jewish support? It was gone. But people used to like to say this expression that has been overused, oh, queers for Palestine. It's like chickens for KFC. I'm like, I don't know who wrote this joke, but firstly, it's not that funny. And you keep repeating this one line, and you're not you, the Jewish organizations in America and the Israeli government and Israeli representatives. I said, you're not bringing LGBT people to the forefront who have dealt with the anti-Semitism. Let them speak about it. Don't bring some heterosexual, non-LGBTQ, or not even the plus of allyship person to talk about our issues. Have a listening session. Amplify the LGBT, Zionist, and Jewish people who are dealing with these challenges and help us combat and create a safe space. So it's yet another example of how our Jewish people have failed ourselves and how Israel, the Israeli government, has failed our people. And I'm a staunch Zionist, pro-Israel, pro-America, pro-democracy, pro-LGBT, pro-Jewish. I can still criticize because we need the criticism to improve our peoplehood and improve the way we pursue things. Gone are the days of Jewish activism of the past. We're in war right now, and we need to focus on the younger people, the younger generations, and the more vibrant, socially connected people. That's what we have to do now. We have massive learning lessons that too many people are slow to learn.
Yeah, it's important to know when to criticize ourselves as well, not just praise ourselves nonstop. We need to learn how to criticize ourselves when it's due, And it's interesting that I've seen more non-Jewish allies in the gay community, particularly Daniel Spalding, who's been very, very active and protecting Israel and advocating for Israel and speaking about all these issues that, like the insane Queers for Palestine and all these groups.
You mentioned one person. Where are you seeing more? Who else?
Well, I mentioned him because he's the main one that I've seen.
And that's unfortunate that you have one person. One person. Mention someone else. And if you don't have an answer, say you don't have an answer.
I don't have a specific answer, no.
And that sucks. That sucks that you don't have a specific answer. Where are the other people? We're mentioning one stand-up comic who's very funny and very bold with his beliefs and is skilled as a comic, absolutely. Where's everybody else? So when you say we're seeing more LGBT allies or more gay or queer or lesbian or whatever term you want to use, allies, I'm not seeing them. Well, I'm not seeing them within my own community.
Right. But what I've seen him do is more than I've seen others in the Jewish community do.
One person.
Yeah. but
And
it
that
says
sucks.
something.
And that
Yeah.
sucks. I mean, we've seen people, God, I forget this guy's name. He's brilliant. He does a lot of work with PragerU or Prager Institute. Xavier something or other.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he's gay. He's the guy who always like does these videos where he sips on like a smoothie.
Oh, I
Okay,
have another name for you.
who?
Douglas Murray.
Oh, well,
This
Douglas Murray,
guy.
brilliant. Absolutely. Douglas Murray,
Brilliant
brilliant.
guy. Yeah. He's brilliant.
Unapologetic based
Mhm.
on his values. Now, Douglas Murray is somebody we need to amplify more because he is smart, he's
Yeah.
educated, and instead of focusing on the social media influencer, the social media professional, he is someone of influence who's
Yes.
able to speak intelligibly about the topics from a place of being very well educated. That's what I wish more of these social media influencers would do. Yes, amazing, amazing, wonderful. You have a great social media platform. Like, I love it. Good for you. Like, I'm so excited for you. But how about read some more books so you can create even better content, so you can talk about these issues in a more informed way and not just being fabulous. Being fabulous is amazing and wonderful.
Right.
But fabulousness can fade, and fabulousness, you might not always be fabulous, but you can't take education away. Education is there for you forever. So all of your audience who pay attention to the Israel Connection podcast, please focus on Jewish education for people of all ages consistently.
Yeah. And Douglas Murray is
I love
brilliant journalist. Like he knows what he's talking about 100%. And
his partner is also brilliant. Michael Lucas, or Andre is his real name, but his stage name is Michael Lucas. Brilliant, bold, very smart, and very dedicated, proud Jewish, Russian, American, Israeli. And do you know what? I think our American Jewish community need to pay a lot more attention to the Russian Jewish community and to the Persian Jewish community, who are bold, proud, strong, community supportive Jews who focus on empowering their communities. What happened to the rest of our American Jewish community? Why is it only the Russians and the Persians who are so amazing? We need to be amazing as well.
Yes, I think with the Russians and the Persians, their experience is something that American Jews never even knew existed.
Because life was too easy.
Yeah, and there are some amazing people out there, Persian Jews and Russian Jews, that speak out, and they know what they're talking about. They've lived through these experiences.
Yeah.
So,
or their parents did.
Yes.
But you know what? We have so many American Jews whose grandparents were Holocaust survivors.
Right.
What happened? What happened with these two generations that got so soft?
I feel like people got comfortable and they didn't want to wake the beast, basically. They wanted it to...
well, the beast woke up. The beast woke up and is attacking us.
Them. Yeah.
The beast was, like all of those nightmare stories for little kids. The beast was living under our bed and in our closets. Right. And you know what? It burst out. That beast burst out from under the bed, and the beast is no longer closeted, to the point that now the beast is closeting us, making Jews, proud Jews, to have to closet ourselves in order to just survive and be safe. But you know what? You can't survive in a closet. Yeah. I often say nobody will closet me for my LGBT identity, and nobody will closet me for my Jewish or my Zionist identity.
Yes, and that's how it should be. But we see that a lot in the industry, the entertainment industry.
Oh my God.
That's a whole thing, right? But how has it been for you, like working in that industry and, interacting with those people? Like, did you hear anything? Did people
always
complain to you? Did you have any jobs taken away from you because of it? Wow.
I mean, my answer is yes to everything you just said. Maybe you read my articles or saw, when I spoke out and continue to speak out very openly about that. I've experienced, again, even pre-October 7th, criticisms of me being too Jewish or not Jewish enough when I was considered for Jewish roles. I'm like, what does it mean to not be Jewish enough? Like how am I supposed to be more
like
Jewish?
The stereotype. That's what they want, I guess.
Like, am I supposed to talk like this? This is more Jewish? Or am I supposed to talk like this to be like very Israeli and be like, wow, 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 look at these muscles? Like, what is more Jewish? Anyway, so not Jewish enough or too Jewish, I hear and have heard a lot. And over the last, I've engaged in socio-political activism and advocacy for decades. But when I've done it about Jewish causes, Zionist causes, Israel, and battles against anti-Semitism, that's when people would be like, oh, we're really worried that you're being too political. I was like, when I talk about Israel, Jewish people, Zionism, and the battles against those who hate us, that's too political. But when I speak about Democrats and Republicans, that's not too political. And when I speak about LGBTQ, the movement and our political strength and might, failures and successes, that's not too political. Like, how is the Jewish stuff too political?
Yeah.
And by the way, I received some of those messages from Jews in Hollywood. So that says a lot about our failing Jewish community.
Yeah, it seems like everybody is now so scared of what is the elite going to say? What are these people going to say? Or
we are the elite. We need to be our own elite. You know what?
Yeah.
If somebody doesn't like you, it's these lessons that we teach to children.
Exactly. Right.
If somebody doesn't like you and they don't include you, then stop chasing them and create your own thing. Create your own thing.
Why would you want to work with them anyway?
And you know what? Look, I understand the challenges of being an actor and a filmmaker and a director, of being a creative with an artistic mindset within an industry, within a business. Most of the people in the entertainment industry are poor. They don't have a lot of money.
Right.
They don't make a lot of money. They have to have second jobs and third jobs. Most people in the entertainment industry are not celebrities and will never be. So, do we have to say to all of these people who aren't as successful as their dreams are, hey, make your own project, make your own production, live and create what you want to do, because nobody's going to reach their hand out and say, oh, wow, Esti, everything you're doing is amazing. Here's $10 million every year to make a film. You know what? I hope that happens for you. And it might. It might. It would be amazing. I hope it happens for me too. But it's like, that's not the reality.
Right.
So we have encountered within the entertainment industry, which includes television, film, and theater, people who have gone on the anti-Israel, anti-Zionist, anti-Jewish, pro-Palestinian, pro-Islamist movement bandwagon because it's cooler. And they're trying to gain more audiences by jumping on whatever socio-political movement bandwagon when they don't really know what they're talking about. Right. And when I deal with these people, and I deal with them a lot, and when I speak as a workshop leader and an advisor, because I advise 43 different organizations now, governmental and non-governmental. Oh. When I deal with entertainment and media industry organizations, companies, and individuals, I say we need to focus on our values, and we need to empower other people to focus on their values. Then make your decision who you support and who you don't.
Yeah.
For example, I support women's rights, LGBTQ rights, freedom of religion, equal access to education, health care for all. I believe that everybody should be able to run for office in government, and everybody should be able to protest government and government officials. That's a pretty low bar for me. And I support any government, any group, any organization, and any movement that supports those things. You know who doesn't support those things that I rattled off? Hamas, Hezbollah, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, the Palestinian Authority, ISIS, Iraq, Qatar. I can mention CARE, the organization CARE,
Oh my God, don't
JVP,
start with
Jewish
them.
Voices for Peace,
Yeah.
SJP, Students for Justice in Palestine, all of these organizations that don't support those things. And I'll be like, well, those are values that are important to me. And then I impart this to people saying, what are the values that are important to you?
Mhm.
If you know what's important to you, you know who to support and who not to support. And in Hollywood, so many people are just trying to say, well, what is the vast majority of the audience saying and wanting? The truth is, we have a 51 to 57% silent majority in America. That includes the audience of the entertainment industry.
Right.
People who are silent, who don't know anything, who don't want drama. They just want to be able to drink their good wine or go to their coffee shop and go to their yoga class and make sure that their kids have a good education and that they can go to the doctors they want and whatever they want, an easy life.
Right. Yeah. I mean, but you look at like the big Hollywood stars that have been dead silent since October 7th. That's crazy to me because they already established their place. People know who they are. They get jobs from here to the moon. They have more money than any of us can count. And they're still silent. But then when something comes out on social media, like All Eyes on Rafa, that graphic that came out from AI, everybody shares it as if it's like the Bible. It's the holiest thing they've ever seen.
Because that's how the way the algorithms work.
Yeah.
People understand that social media is a way to engage with an audience, to build your public profile, to increase your exposure and increase your business opportunities. That's what social media really is all about. So they say, what is the most popular hashtag? Well, hashtag Free Palestine is much more popular than hashtag Am Yisrael Chai.
Sadly.
Jews need to do better. Allies of Jewish people need to do better. And we all need to be much more active, yes, on social media, but also in real life.
Right.
Everybody needs to be an influencer, not just the social media professionals, but actually post things, write things, post things on social media, write op-eds to the different publications, write letters to the editor to different publications. If you've lived life, you have the absolute ability to write an article and submit it. Maybe a lot of people are horrible writers and they'll never get picked up, but at least try. Or meet with your elected officials. Meet with the people who represent you and advocate for your needs, your family's needs, your friends' needs, your community needs, your people's needs. Because we're losing this war, and I think we've already lost.
We are definitely losing the PR war big time. I mean, that's an ongoing issue for Israel, especially. Our PR is very, very lacking. It's really bad, and you can see it, unfortunately. But so you've been in Israel throughout the past year or so, right?
I go. I'm in Israel. It seems like every 3 months, something like that.
So how does it feel for you now? Like, how has it felt throughout this past year compared to previous years, way before October 7th? I mean, I was there last summer, and I know it feels different. It feels very gloomy, and
it is.
Yeah, like on one hand, people still go to work, go out, do their things, but it's very gloomy and it's very sad. How did you feel about it, like when you were there last time?
We're facing and dealing with an era of collective trauma, of collective grief, despair, desperation, stress, and anxiety, which has also, by the way, caused an elevated increase in the amount of people not just being diagnosed with depression and anxiety disorders and PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, but also an elevated increase in suicides and suicidal attempts. We're seeing that in Israel, and we're also seeing that amongst the Jewish community internationally.
Oh.
We're facing a time of deep mental health crises. We need to do better. There are organizations like Natal, Natal, or Elem, ELEM, both Israeli-based organizations that focus on trauma therapy, that focus on providing mental health and other types of support for people in crisis, in need. Or there's another organization called Iran, which is a call center, which my mother, volunteers for. There are all of these different organizations that are helping people in need, because we have a vast need for this. And there are a lot of people, because of the way mental health is treated throughout our societies across the world, there are a lot of people who are afraid to ask for help, or a lot of people who are afraid to just acknowledge that they're dealing with not just PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, but what I call CTSD, current traumatic stress disorder. We're dealing with current traumas. So in Israel,
trauma.
Yeah, it's still, we're living in it.
Yeah.
We're seeing Israelis, yes, they're still going to work, and they still have their families, and they still have to pay their taxes, and they still have to buy their groceries, and they still want to go to the gym, and they still want to do whatever it is that they're doing. But you know what? There's a war on so many different fronts that Israelis are dealing with, and there is a darkness there. There is a despair. There is an idea of, what are we fighting for when we're fighting to release hostages who are being held, but in exchange, in this ransom exchange for releasing Israeli and foreign national hostages, Israel is releasing many hundreds of terrorists.
Yeah.
And Israelis are saying, like, and I know Israelis who are now soldiers, or are reserve soldiers, or whose children are soldiers, who are seeing the terrorists who killed their loved ones, who killed their brothers, their sisters, their parents, their uncles, their aunts, their grandparents, seeing these terrorists being released and saying, like, oh my God, and now we're fighting more, and it's this cyclical pattern. It's a very disturbing pattern. And you know what? The same thing, the Jewish community internationally is dealing with a collective trauma. Our stress is so intense, and the way to deal with it is by acknowledging the stress, by acknowledging the trauma, by acknowledging the depression, and saying, I'm not going to live as a victim. I'm going to recognize that I have all of this pressure that's weighing me down. But I also have a choice to keep pushing up through the pressure to try to keep moving forward, because I want to live the best life I can. And you know what? Life sucks. Life really sucks.
Yeah.
But life is also great. And life is also beautiful. But we have to make those choices to do it. We will never reach the beauty and the happiness and the delight in life if we don't acknowledge the traumas, the stress, the depressions, the hardships, the challenges. And that's what we're experiencing. And that's my very long-winded answer to your question.
Yeah. And I read an article the other day on Ynet, which is the Israeli, news. They said that there is right now, because of everything that's going on with all the mental health, the PTSD, the CTSD, like you call it, like everything, there's a huge shortage of mental health workers.
There is.
And people have to pay private mental health workers, which is thousands of shekels. It's a lot of money, and a lot of people cannot afford that. Just to get the help they need. People have been waiting. People that survived the Nova said that have been waiting for months to get something, just for an evaluation, not even like a whole treatment plan, just one evaluation. And it's just impossible to get right now. So that's another crazy thing that we need to think about. And I think for the years to come, we're going to see more and more things happening revolving around mental health in Israel.
Yeah.
So let's finish up a little bit on a lighter note. So I have a little segment called Favorite Israeli Thing. So I'm going to ask you little questions about that. Who is your favorite Israeli filmmaker?
Me.
You?
Why not?
Yeah,
I was going to say someone else. But you know what? Before I say someone else, I actually had a challenging conversation with a group yesterday as part of one of my speaking engagements. And I was talking about how we need to celebrate ourselves a lot more and do so boldly. So I'm going to stick to that answer, even though I was going to say somebody else.
So
But
who
now
are
I'm
you going
going
to
to
say?
stick
Who's
to
the
that. No,
second
no, no, no,
favorite?
no, no. I'm not going to say
All right.
me. I'm a
Okay.
filmmaker,
Yeah. You're right.
and I love the process. I love being a storyteller. I love giving the stage to other people and amplifying their stories and their
Mhm.
journey, and truly being about the collaborative effort. As a filmmaker, as a director, my projects aren't just a Yuval David production. It's a collaborative production where everybody is an essential storyteller within the project.
So with that answer, what is your favorite film that you made? But it has to be like connection to Israel, like connected to Israel in a way.
I did a documentary series with the Jewish National Fund all about water recycling and how incredible Israel is with its water management,
Mhm.
which is from desalinization to
Yeah.
water recycling and repurposing. By the way, if you're ever in Israel and you see purple pipes all around Israel, that's recycled wastewater. Israel recycles something like 98% of its wastewater. I mean, what goes down the sink and down the toilet.
Yeah.
Honestly, it recycles that, cleans it, purifies it, and uses it for agriculture. That's what the purple pipes are. The number two country, so Israel is the number one country in terms of recycling the most amount of wastewater. The
Oh,
number two country is Spain, which recycles something like 12% of its wastewater. So the
wow.
the
Yeah.
difference between number one Israel recycling 98% of wastewater and number two Spain recycling 12% of wastewater is mind-boggling. So that was a really cool series that I
What's the
enjoyed.
name of the film?
It's the Water series. It's a
The
whole
Water series?
series. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All
Um,
right. So look it up if you want to watch
and
it.
do you know what? I've been doing a lot of social media content and being more creative with it, and I'll go for that. That's been very impactful as well, especially in this post-October 7th world. The videos that I'm posting on social media, whether it's
Mhm.
YouTube or Instagram or X or Facebook or TikTok
Yeah.
or even LinkedIn,
Everywhere.
it's to try to create impactful content,
Yeah.
because we're in a time where intent is not as important as impact.
Right. And you have to be responsible creating content these days because I've seen
Yeah.
things going on recently in the past few days that have been people are not very responsible. So who is your favorite Israeli collaborator?
My favorite Israeli collaborator.
Mhm.
We have a group that we call the Brigade. It's this very exclusive group of influential and impactful people in the entertainment and media industry. And we've been very supportive of each other. And this group rose very organically post October 7th and has continued to grow on WhatsApp, text messages, emails, partnering on different campaigns, and seeing how we can help each other either in a very public way or also just in a behind the scenes, very supportive way. And that's been amazing. Those are incredible collaborators. And I want to see more of that from the rest of the Jewish people, especially the Jewish organizations around the world, to say, you know what, we need to work together. It's not only about one organization
Right.
caring about their donors for their organization. It's about working together in partnership with other organizations where all organizations will benefit. So I want to see more collaboration amongst our people.
Yep, that's very important. And I know working in a congregation, a Jewish congregation, we collaborate with a lot of different organizations. So it's really good to see that. So lastly, what is your favorite Hebrew word or expression?
Oh, these are good questions. I'm not usually good with favorites. I have many things that I love the most, but I'm not good with favorites. Favorite Hebrew word or expression? I Do you know what I'm going to just say with something that has been moving for me is Am Yisrael Chai.
Yeah.
I'm a big skier. I love double black diamond adventure skiing, jumping off of cliffs into like really challenging runs. Like I love it. And I have been skiing with an Israeli flag connected to the back of my helmet.
Oh.
And the amount of times while I was skiing where either I was skiing on these double black diamond mogul runs and somebody on a chairlift above would yell, Am Yisrael Chai. That was so awesome for me. And the same thing is walking, like going back to all the jewelry that we spoke about at the beginning of our call or our conversation, when people see it and say, Am Yisrael Chai, and just do it in passing. And it's really beautiful. So that's my favorite. I will say that's my favorite.
That's the expression of the year. I feel like that's amazing.
It is.
All right. Well, where can people follow you if they want to see your content?
Wonderful. Well, please follow and hopefully share some nice positive comments, because Lord knows I get terrible, horrendous comments far too much from people who hate me for who I am and the communities that I'm part of being a Jew and Israeli and Zionist. So yes, you can find me all across social media. Instagram, I'm actually Yuval_David_ because I couldn't get the Yuval David. Facebook, X, YouTube, it's just Yuval David, YUVALDAVID. Same thing on TikTok, same thing on LinkedIn. The only one that I couldn't get Yuval David was Instagram, but I'm sure if you type my name, you'll be able to find it.
Yeah, we'll tag you in the post so people will know where to follow you as well.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Yuval, thank you so much for being here today. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Pleasure.
It's a really fun conversation. I really enjoyed it.
Likewise. Thank
And thank you all for listening. Until next time.